Yeah, might as well turn it into
We are gluttons for punishment. That's the only thing that I could say for this. Chris Phillips ended the stream. He did not mean to, so let's continue to hear it, South Carolina fans. 31-6 final score over Kentucky. Mark Stoops is owned by Shane Beamer. That's the only way to put it. Welcome back into the SEC Unfiltered postgame show. He's Dave Shoemate. I'm Cole Thompson. Make sure that you like, rate, review, subscribe. This is your number one source for all things SEC and your number one source to make fun of us for picking Kentucky over South Carolina. Download the podcast version of the show wherever you get your podcast listening systems. Leave a 5-star review if you're a fan of anyone other than South Carolina. 1-star review because if you hate us after what we did after this performance. Make sure that you also follow us on social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at SEC Unfiltered, and download the podcast version, and also make sure that you check us out at secunfiltered.com. Use the promo code SECU at game time when you download the app to get your first purchase $20 off. Willie B will be rocking and rolling next Saturday as LSU comes to town. Go ahead and get your tickets $20 off when you use the promo code SECU on the Game Time app. Dave, again, at this point, you could say really whatever you want if you're a South Carolina fan to a Kentucky person. Like, it's that bad. It is that bad. You have owned you have owned Kentucky year in and year out, and it doesn't matter what these teams' records are at the end of the day. You get bragging rights, and it's 3 consecutive years of having bragging rights. And also, let's just call a spade a spade. This team could get better. I'm not saying that it could be a college football playoff team. I'm not saying that they're going to be a team that comes out of nowhere and absolutely dominates against Alabama, or they krill Oklahoma by 40 points or whatever it is. But you're going to keep things interesting. At the start of the year on SEC Unfiltered, I said that this was going to be the wild card team of 2024. I absolutely went down on that take because if you want to know what, I could see anything happening with South Carolina. I could see them easily holding their own against Kentucky and LSU and then dropping the bag by 20 plus against Oklahoma. I could see them beating Oklahoma by 20 and then losing outright to Vanderbilt. Any one of those things could happen with South Carolina.
Cole, here's a good question for you right now. We talked about it on the Arkansas reaction. You were decently impressed with Arkansas outside their stupid mistakes. They played on a neutral field. Who are you taking right now, South Carolina or Arkansas?
I'm taking South Carolina. I'm 100% taking South Carolina. I would have taken them before this game. I would have taken them after this game. I would have taken them no matter what. And it's because of the fact of who is the man in charge. He is who he is. Can we just all agree with this right now? Shane Beamer is who he is, and he embraces being that guy. He embraces the tenacity. He embraces the conflict. He embraces being that dork that's called out on social media by other fan bases, because when he wins these games, he gets to shove it right back in your face. I mean, if you look right now on the social media of South Carolina, they got a helmet with the sunglasses in. Like, they embrace who they are. And you know what the best thing is? When you have a coach like that just is true to himself, he doesn't try to sugarcoat it. He doesn't try to be anything other than his most authentic version. People buy into that. And you want to know what? That team bought into him. And the fan base, the most of the fan base, buys into him. And there's a select few that don't. And it's a roller coaster of emotions every single Saturday. You don't know what you're going to see at the end of the day. You don't know if you're walking away with the dub. But my God, at least he is authentic. And I can appreciate that. And I think that when you look at what South Carolina is moving forward and what South Carolina needs, it's that type of dude who is willing to be the most authentic version of himself and not lay down because if somebody says you're being a dork. I relate to that. I am who I am. I like what I do. Some people say you have such a Kermit the Frog sounding voice, and I'm like, whatever. I might be a Muppet, but I'm doing this job and I enjoy what I do.
Oh, you have a voice of an angel.
Thank you. It sounds like it's, from hell, but sure. Anyways, South Carolina is legit in terms of what their defense is. You have to see more from what their offense needs, what their offense can be. But they can brag.
You feel better about them, like you said, much better than you did last Saturday night. I'm sure speaking for some Gamecock fans as well. Yeah, next week's big. And again, I don't even think they really have to win the game. Like, they could go play well and lose, I think, next week. And it really doesn't change the fact. I think I'm like you. I had them 4-8 going into the year. I'd probably bump them up to a 5-6 win team, in my opinion, now. Because I still think that stretch of Ole Miss, Bama, Oklahoma is going to be tough. And as the season gets on, again, South Carolina is one of those mid-tier, lower-tier SEC teams. Naturally, the depth just doesn't build up. So like I always talk about with Arkansas, it's about your top 40, not your top 22. Inevitably, as the season gets deeper, you're going to have deeper injuries. So that'll be see if they can keep it up. Does Lenore Sellers make it through a whole season? We saw him leave for a little bit. What would they be like if it was just a Robbie Ashford-led team with a not real proven wide receiver one? Maybe they're turned into one. You're right, Josh Simon. I did a top 5 impact player for South Carolina. He was in my top, I think, 4 impact players I had in that segment I did him. So he's going to be a big passing threat for them initially just because they want to run. But no, big win. You're right. That's a team on your tier, on your pedestal in the SEC. You've now won 3 straight against.
How about Mazzo Bennett?
Huh?
Let's throw Mazzo Bennett into the mix. They need a number 1. Why does it have to be a veteran or a transfer? Why does it have to be any one of those? Why can't it just be the new kid that comes on the block?
Yeah, I mean, they just need somebody. They need somebody to step up.
They could.
Yeah, I mean, it could happen, but you're right. The offense, I think we all agree, offense needs to improve. Defense is what it is. Stay healthy. The defensive front's really good. It's like you said, let's just see some improvement on a continued improvement off offense. Let's try to keep Lenore Sellers as healthy as possible because I think you're a totally different offense. I think Robbie Ashford doesn't bring that passing game. And again, I think Lenore Sellers is a little bit of an inconsistent passer, but not as consistent as Lenore Sellers would Robbie Ashford be. But
you can see improvements in Sellers, and I think that's the main point: is that you have a 6'3", 220+ pound quarterback that is not afraid to tuck and run, not afraid to move outside the pocket, and not afraid to deliver strikes. He can do all that, and it's his second real start. He will get better. It can get better. That's what you hold your hat on. When it comes to Brock Vandagriff in this offense, it was so anemically droll that I don't know what you're seeing more improvements on. I feel like that when it comes to the offensive line of what you see with South Carolina, hopefully it will improve. When you look at this offensive line for Kentucky, their biggest downfall last year was explosive plays in the secondary and the offensive line not being able to protect Devin Leary. And I just feel like that's going to be the same thing right now. You watch as one of their starting guards left in the first half. He didn't come back for the rest of the game. Gerald Mincey was not great today. You had the 7th-year offensive lineman from Florida have a couple of penalties. Big penalty game. I mean, when you break this down, Dave, there was 8 penalties for 70 yards for South Carolina, 11 penalties for 63 yards for Kentucky. It wasn't good. But the difference is that I saw when the explosive play needed to happen, when it needed to improve, it did. And that's what you saw from South Carolina.
No, it got in the second half. Yeah, you got to give him credit. You got to, for sure. I think you got to give him credit. It'll just be interesting when they see a team that actually has some cohesiveness on offense and it takes some pressure off the opposing team's defense. But again, it's a big win. There's no denying it. Again, I don't know why people get all upset in the comments, but it's a big win. Everybody,
we all picked Kentucky. There was not a single person on the site that picked South Carolina.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, I mean, but is no one denied they've not picked Kentucky? That's what I'm saying.
No, but at the same time, what about like a personal example? I was dumb. I want to pick South Carolina. My gut told me do it. I listened to my head. I was wrong.
Yeah. And I feel like I was right going into the season on side. I said that, I mean, you heard me on the show. I said the Old Dominion game would be close.
No, I mean, Chris took the under. I took the over. I thought South Carolina was going to be much more improved offensively.
The Old Dominion game.
Yeah,
we all took the under today. I thought
we all took the under today, but at the same time, that's because their defense kept them in that game. Again, I figured that the defense in this game was going to keep them involved, and they did. 2 turnovers, 2 massive turnovers. On top of that, you also got a pick 6 from Nikki Emanwari. That was great. So let's just call a spade a spade. Defensively, they look good. I also think that when you look at where this third down offense needs to get to, that is the biggest improvement. That is the one thing you need to look for. Absolutely. I also think that when you look at this wide receiver, somebody's got to step up. But plain and simple, you saw more explosive plays from the Norris Sellers, and the defense was able to make Brock Vandagriff into throwing into double coverage, 2 turnovers. Yeah, you were better. You were just better. They
were a lot better today.
Yeah, they were 100% better. And you know what the thing is? Again, they're going to be better next week. I had South Carolina upsetting LSU right now. How can I pick against them? If
I'm you right now and you picked it preseason, I'd probably stick with it, especially after what you saw with LSU last week. Now, granted, that's who I kind of thought LSU would be last week. But you're right. That's going to be an interesting challenge for LSU going in there next week.
Absolutely. And
LSU needs it. Can you imagine if they started 1-2?
Yeah, well, of course you can. But at the same time, if you're 3-0 and you're South Carolina, how do you not carry that momentum going into outside games? I mean, we already talked about it. What happens after the LSU game? You got a matchup against Akron. They get Ole Miss, Alabama, Texas A&M, and Oklahoma. Those are your next 4. And you get a break in between. You get a bye week in between.
I'm not even down on South Carolina if they just lose next week, because I think they're going to be underdogs in that game. I think Vegas is going to have LSU favored when it comes out tomorrow. Even if it's a close game, I mean, I would still gain respect for South Carolina. Like, again, because I think LSU's going to be that dog backed into a corner next week. Because I think they know Brian Kelly's going to be talked about like Hugh Freeze is starting tonight. If they go start 1-2, Are You Serious Sports with Blake Ruffino, the T-Bob Hebert, Matt Moscona shows will have pitchforks in the background if they lose to South Carolina next week. Like,
no,
that'll be bad news bears for the home team there for the old LSU Tigers. It's a big game for both South Carolina and LSU. LSU definitely needs it more than South Carolina. Like I said, I think South Carolina can leave Willie B, their home stadium, feeling decent, even if they lost and they played well. Where I think LSU's kind of like, nah, it's win or lose. We ain't taking we're just playing well in this game and taking it and run with it.
Shane Beamer, post-game. There was a perception, but it wasn't a reality. He's right. Plain and simple. And now he gets to talk the talk. And now South Carolina fans get to shit all over us. And you know what? We earned it. We get to have the egg on our face. That's totally fine. We'll all own it. South Carolina's defense came to play. Their offense is going to get better. They move up to 2-0. They carry the momentum going into next week at home against LSU at Willie B. It's going to be a magical showcase. It is. And honestly, all of us, we're sorry. Sorry, South Carolina. We were wrong.
Wrong this week.
We were wrong this week.
I was right last week. I was wrong this week.
You shut us up. Congratulations. Make sure that you like, rate, review, subscribe. Make sure that also you hit the comment section with your thoughts, your comments, your concerns, your blasting of us. Totally welcoming. All embracing it. Make sure that you follow Dave on Twitter at Mock10Sports. Follow me on Twitter at Mr. Cole Thompson. Make sure that also you download the podcast version of the show wherever you get your podcast listening systems and check out all of our great work. Make sure you visit secunfiltered.com. For Dave Shoemate, I'm Cole Thompson. I apologize, Gamecock Nation. You're 2-0 and you're rolling up 3-1. Peace.